Annihilation is directed by Alex Garland and stars Natalie Portman, Oscar Isaac, and Jennifer Jason Leigh. And this is the story of a group of military scientists who go into this quarantine zone called the Shimmer, which is basically this field that contains these mutated creatures and different beings that are inside. And they're trying to find out where the source is coming from after an event happens to where I believe some kind of meteorite or something crashes to this lighthouse, and they have to investigate it. And one of the characters, portrayed by Natalie Portman, who was a former who was in the army, her husband comes home one day and basically is, or she finds out that her husband is actually she finds out that her husband is sick, and due to a circumstance that happened when he went into the zone. And while he's trying to recover, she ends up deciding to go in herself with the team of other scientists to find out where the source is coming from. Now here's some backstory. Now this film was directed by Alex Garland, who, if you may remember, he directed Ex-Machina, which I haven't seen, but I heard that film is really good. He was also the screenwriter of 28 Days Later, which I found a very fascinating film. And coming by the way that he wrote that film, it seemed like he took... I really like the way that he has come across as that he tends to combine science fiction with horror, because this film combines both of those elements. And I've been really looking for this movie for a while now. I've heard, when I was first seeing the trailers for it and everything, it actually really got me pumped, because I like that we're seeing more films like this that kind of take more of an original premise necessarily, because from the trailers it kind of reminds me of how they did with that movie Arrival that came out a few years ago, where these aliens or something come to Earth and we're having to explore what they're about. While this film certainly has that kind of mentality, it actually goes a lot more in depth with that more, because I feel like it's a completely different type of approach that I thought really worked well. And what really surprised me was that this film actually didn't go anywhere else in theaters outside the United States, because from what I was hearing, that this was one of those situations where Paramount basically got the distribution rights for the United States, but then outside the United States, everywhere else would be watching this film on Netflix. So I feel like this type of film really needs to be seen more in theaters, because it's in a world now where we pretty much have superhero films and countless blockbuster films coming out. It's very rare that we start to see more original movies that come out like around this time that actually take risks and actually want to do something new and fresh for Hollywood and everything. And I feel like this film really deserves countless viewings upon seeing, because this is a film that I can honestly say would probably take another viewing for me to understand, kind of like how I feel with Blade Runner, because I highly enjoyed it. To get my pros out of the way, I highly enjoyed the performances in this, including Natalie Portman. I've always admired her as an actress, and I think she really carries this film a lot, especially with a lot of the emotion that she goes through in this, because she's trying to uncover a lot of what's happening with her husband, who is acting strange and everything, and he ends up getting basically sick and ends up going into pretty much a coma for about 90% of the film. And along the way, you start to learn more about his character as the film goes on, in flashbacks and some other parts of the film that I won't reveal. But it really gets interesting, especially with how, you see a lot of what Portman's character goes through. And I think she really has a lot of great integrity in this performance of hers. And I also enjoyed Jennifer Jason Leigh in this film as well. I've always liked her as an actress, and I'm glad to see that she's coming to do more films lately, because ever since I saw her in Hateful Eight, it seems like she's made a big comeback. So I am glad to see that she's still getting work again. One of my biggest strong out points for this movie the most is the gritty cinematography. It's outstanding. The look of the Shimmer when they go inside is very beautiful and has a very lush atmosphere, and it really captures the mood of but basically it's trying to identify itself as kind of beautiful at times, but then it gets really dark at times too. So I like the very mix of ways they deal with some of the nighttime scenes and the way that you see some of the daytime scenes in the forest and stuff, and it really captures, the cinematography is really captivating in this. I also really love one of my biggest standouts is the visual effects. Now, I'm not sure how much CGI was used for the film, but when you see some of the designs they used for some of the creatures in this film, they looked pretty practical looking, and I really enjoy a lot of how they look like. Especially, I won't reveal anything, but there's a part where you see a creature pretty much attacking someone. It looks pretty real, I thought, and this film also has some really intense moments too, especially. There's a sequence that comes out later on that really had me on the edge of my seat, and I felt like, you know, I really felt like I was there with these characters. And so this movie just really blew me away with you know, the way that these things start unfolding as it goes along, and the way that the story is also planned out too is pretty interesting, because it kind of reminds me in a way of kind of how like 10 Cloverfield Lane was, to where you're not really too sure if whether or not the characters are either hallucinating on all these things that when they go inside, or if all these things are really happening. So I really love the direction they take with this, because it makes you question whether or not some of the stuff they're seeing is real and whether it's not real. And so I find that really great filmmaking, because it really makes you think really well. Though I will say, and this is kind of where I get to a little bit of a con, I'd say probably around the climax, at least actually toward probably the end, it actually seemed like there was something that kind of threw me off, to where it seemed like that wouldn't have necessarily made sense unless I wasn't seeing it correctly. So I will say there's a minor con I have that's toward the end of the movie, and the ending is kind of questionable. But I feel like upon repeat viewings, I could probably understand it a lot easier for that, because I think that's what the intention they were going for, to where the less is more, because you're basically thinking in your head on a psychological level, and I really enjoy that aspect. So maybe I'm not probably fully grasping that approach, or maybe I'm not seeing it like some others do, but I can't go into detail without spoiling the film. But I'll say that overall, though, I highly loved Annihilation, and I'm glad that we're starting to see more films like this come out, because these kind of science fiction films I get into a lot, especially when they deal with the idea of, you know, creating new ideas to how aliens are in films, and the way that this film also has its great themes of DNA and the way, or I'm sorry, not DNA, cells. There's a big theme involving cells in this film that I found very interesting. So there's a really big theme involving cells that I won't reveal, but I thought it was very clever with the way that the film pulled along, because it really makes you kind of question certain things throughout, especially when you have these big reveals that come later. So there was that. But also, one of my last praises I do have is I love the score in this, because I forgot the name of the song, but there's an instrumental there's a guitar instrumental that goes along with the movie that I found very catchy throughout, and so I really like the way they use that score throughout the film with that guitar music. So I thought that was really good. But overall, I do highly recommend this film. And if you haven't got a chance to see it, I do recommend seeing Annihilation. And with that, I'm going to give it a phenomenal grade on the Film Phreeks meter. For those of you who have also seen Annihilation, let me know in the comments below what you thought about it. And if you like, you can feel free and to like and subscribe to my channel, and check out some of our other reviews here on filmphreeks.com and here on YouTube as well. And I'll be seeing you here on my next review. And a side note, I apologize that I haven't been seeing a lot of movies here lately. I've been busy with a lot of personal things going on with some stuff, but I'm still occasionally checking movies out here and there. But I'm mainly taking the time to try to spend a lot of time with some friends and family, including my girlfriend Stephanie. So there's some things come up that I'm just trying to take some time out from watching movies with. But when I get down to watching movies again in the theaters and stuff, I'll keep posting and keep an update and everything. But I do appreciate everyone who's been tuning in and watching our channel on here. And an update about Eddie, he hasn't really also been seeing anything lately, because he's also been busy with some stuff, and plus he can't do any written reviews right now because he's still currently banned from Facebook for 30 days. So by the beginning of April, he should be back up to be able to post written reviews. But until then, he's still currently having to just wait until it comes back on. So until then, me and him will probably check out some movies sometime soon again. But if not, we'll have to do it when we can for now. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys here in my next review. I'll see you later.